For Salesforce connector to connect to establish a session, right? So you would need username, password, security token, and authorization URL. Okay. So username and password are the ones that you set during the account creation. Okay. Whereas for security token, so for first time login, you will not have a security token. Okay. So you'll have to click on your profile, go to settings. Okay. So it will load the personal information settings. So here there is an option to reset your security token. Click on reset my security token and click here. Okay. So then Salesforce will send an email with security token details. Okay. So in your organizations, this is already provided. Okay. So, and you will not be using your account. Okay. So you will be using a generic service account. Okay. So the authentication setup can be anything, because see here, usually the authentication setup will be via identity providers. Okay. So here if you check here, so it will be via identity providers. Okay. So that means your organization may be using ADLDS like LDAP systems. Okay. Or Microsoft Active Directory systems. Okay. So they'll integrate those LDAP and Active Directory systems to these identity providers. Okay. So that you can log in with your company username and password. Okay. So company email ID and password. Okay. But since this is a personal instance, we don't have such setup. So you will have to use our own credentials, and we'll have to reset our token. Okay. So once you reset your token, so you'll get it over email. Okay. So here, let's check. Okay. Once you give the details, try to do test connection. So authorization URL, if it's optional, it will default. Okay. Yeah. So test connection is successful. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. So in order to query, so there should be some table data populated. Okay. So for that, what we can do, so there is something called object manager. Okay. So object manager is like a internal Salesforce database kind of thing. Okay. So, and all these are like tables. Okay. So the difference between from Salesforce to this is like, sorry, from Salesforce to traditional databases. In traditional databases, you will have tables, like you will have to populate the data manually via queries. Okay. And like the relations between SQL tables is based on a key. Okay, like it may be based on a private key or foreign key, like this kind of constraints. Okay, so it's very simple. Okay, whereas in Salesforce, since it's UI based, okay, and you have options to set up your own custom objects. Okay, so you can establish any type of relationship, any type of relationships between multiple tables. Okay, so Salesforce gives you option for that. Okay, so here you can extract any type of information, like with respect to marketing, with respect to like sales reports. Okay, so you can expect any types of information. Okay, but all those information that you see, like whatever you see in sales console, so that will be displayed from one of the tables from object manager. Okay, so that will be displayed from one of the tables of object manager. Okay, so object manager is like backend or data store for complete Salesforce system. Okay, so whatever you want to query, insert or upsert, whatever you want to do, you will have to do it in the object manager itself. Okay, so if you want to create a new contact, so you will have to insert in the contact object. Okay, so you'll have to prepare a Salesforce object payload and then insert it in the contact object. Okay, so that is how it will be managed. Okay, so understood, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see if you MuleSoft provided examples if you have it. Okay. Mm, okay. So we have this sample. Okay. So let's not use query. So for now, let's create something. Okay. So here, see, these are all the object names that we have just seen. Okay. So in the type that you configure. Okay. So here select the object name where you want to which you want to add a record. Okay. So for any object, like you can either create, update, or upset. Okay. So the difference between these is if you select create, if the record is already present, it will reply back saying the record is already present. Okay. If you select update, if the record is present, it will update. Else, it will reply back saying that record not found. Okay. Whereas if you use upsert, so if the record is present, it will update it. Else, it will insert the record. Okay. So usually we use upsert. Okay. Or create. Okay. So it depends. It depends on the use case. Okay. So irrespective of the error message, if you simply want to create, if it is not present, then you use create. Okay. So, but most probably we use upsert. Okay. So for each, just a second. Let me see. Okay. See, for upsert, we give the object type and we select which field, uh, like it's like a private key field. Okay. So which field you want to map as a ID field. Okay. So these things we need to upset. Okay. So here, mm, okay. So it is populating the metadata, but let's go here. So there is no metadata for out. Okay. So here we have. Okay. So once your connection is successful, and if you select the object, appropriate object, so and if you place the transfer message before the Salesforce connector, it will pre-populate the metadata. Okay, so that is the advantage. Like if you refer these connection properties from properties file where it cannot resolve at the given point of time, so then you will not be able to see the metadata. Okay, so you will have to manually map. Okay, so I would recommend try to configure, give a basic configuration at the first. Okay, so that you can do your transformation, and then you can configure as part of properties. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we can configure these money. For now, I'll give on static. Okay. So usually, if you're building an API for this operation, you'll have to build it as a post uh, operation, okay, and you need to accept data from the input payload, okay. But for testing purpose, I have hard coded the values. Okay. So the response from Salesforce is like a iterable listed thing. Okay. Let's transform that complete response into JSON and see.
And the output of the Salesforce is always Java.
Yeah. So it's always Java.
Okay.
Even the input also. Okay, you will have to the
Okay.
input will also be Java. Okay. So
Okay.
basically, like the simple term to remember is the output and input is always Salesforce object format.
Okay.
So if somebody asks what is the payload format used for the Salesforce, you can mention S object or Salesforce object. There is one more connector like that. Right? It's NetSuite, I think. So NetSuite also you'll have to typecast to object, like typecast in the sense, whenever you generate payload, right? How you
Okay.
can typecast this is like you need to mention as object, okay, and then you need to give like class name, like class path, uh, complete class path. Okay, so you'll have to typecast your payload. So here you are completely typecasting this. Okay, so like java dot util dot array list, like this. You'll have to typecast. Okay,
Okay.
so whatever payload you are generating, you need to explicitly convert it to object. Okay, so that's the same for Salesforce as well as NetSuite connector. Okay, so Salesforce, like it can accept Java format, like because MuleSoft will automatically detect depending on the type of output you are trying to print. If the output type is applications like Java, so that means if I'm trying to print a array, so it will automatically print array list. Okay, so if I'm trying to print a single object, it will automatically typecast it to linked hash. Okay, so this is the response we got. Okay, so successful false and status code is invalid argument type. Okay, so let me check this, how we can validate the response from Salesforce. So if payload dot successful equal to false, okay, so then it has failed. Okay, okay, so whenever I see a response, I'll have to put a choice block here. Okay, so if payload dot success equal to false, then I need to raise error. Okay, so but in order to raise error, so I'll have to raise the customer. Okay, so here I need to pass on the message. Okay, So from the response, payload dot items dot uh, message ID must be a string. So for description, I can give this message. Okay. So payload dot items dot message. Okay. So whenever I see response from Salesforce, sometimes it might throw exception, or sometimes it will simply respond back with this type of message. Okay. So which will basically talks about either the operation was successful or not. Okay. So these kind of exceptions. Okay. So but you will have to interpret in this way. Okay. Like whenever you use Salesforce connector, you have to wrap this around with try catch block to handle exceptions. Okay. And also you need to do custom error handling, like you need to check for the response. Okay. And in the response structure you can always rely upon this structure. Okay. So whatever operation you might use. Okay. Let's see create and check. Okay. If you use create, see, for every operation it will give you this flag. Okay. Else either it's a successful or not. Okay. So based on this you can check. Um, Even message will also be same. Okay. So if you give payload.items.message, you'll be able to see the errors too. Okay. Okay. So you'll have to do the custom error handling. Okay. So let's see now. Mm, okay. So items is, I'll have to give 0. Okay. So or else see, if you're receiving multiple messages, so you'll have to do join by. Okay. So there is a keyword called join by. So you can converge array of items into comma separated values. Okay, for example, let's say I have hi, then hello, okay, and then how are you, like these kind of things. So if I want to converge them into single sentence, I'll have to use join by. Okay, I can use anything to join. Okay, so I can use an empty space, I can use a pipeline, I can use any character, okay, to join. Okay, so I'll be doing the same thing here because at present I have only one message, but if I have multiple errors for multiple fields, I'll have to capture all those messages. Okay, so that's why I'm joining. So thinking that I'll get multiple messages. Hmm. So now it's returning ID must be a string, and this is the error code. Okay, so basically Salesforce, the format used by Salesforce is a S object, Salesforce object. So you'll have to prepare a Java input for Salesforce connector. Okay, so if you want to upset, create or update. Okay, so and the output will also be in Java format. Okay, so you will have to check if it is successful, if the operation is successful or not by using payload.successful flag. Okay, and you can capture the messages like the regions for failure from payload.items.message. Okay, so this is a simple operation in Salesforce. Okay, so when it comes to query, okay, so let me show you how query looks. Okay, so here for query, Salesforce gives you one additional portal. Okay, so this whatever UI you see here, so this is just a normal UI portal. Okay, so you will also have developer.salesforce portal. Okay, I think I forgot the URL. There is one URL like to log into the developer instance. Okay, like where you can query, you can customize. Uh, I think it's workforce. Hmm, Okay, so let me find that URL. I'm not able to find it. Okay, so I'll get back to you with that tomorrow. There is one workforce, workbench or workforce. I don't recall properly. Okay, so in that portal you can explore the SOQL, like Salesforce Object Query Language. Okay, so we use Salesforce Object Query Language. Okay, so usually in SQL you do select star from table name. Okay, but here you do select star from account. Okay, so here you do select star from account. Okay, so select from account. Correct. Let's try this. Mm, Let me try this. So it's been very long time I worked on Salesforce. Okay. So I have used stars. Let me select if I can star icon. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now I got the output. Okay, from account object. So it has selected whatever is possible from account. Okay. This is for query. So did you all create the Salesforce account?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So once you create, reset your token, security token. Okay, and make sure you are able to connect to Salesforce. Okay. So in the configuration, you just need to provide username, password, and security token. Okay. So for now, like this is just a warm up kind of thing because even I need to get used to this. Okay. So we saw upset operation and we saw query operation. Okay, and we'll have to see batch query result stream, batch result stream, and there is an option to subscribe channels. Okay, so the use case for Salesforce is basically see the projects that I had worked, like how Salesforce project will be there, right? So first thing, so this is the employee portal. Okay, so in my previous organization, we had built employee portal on top of Salesforce. Okay, so the backend UI is built in Salesforce UI. Okay, and backend is Salesforce Object Store. Okay, so UI is Salesforce UI. Okay, and backend for that is Salesforce itself. Okay, so to this, where the information was getting is like it used to get information from SAP. So it's basically a bidirectional thing. Okay, so SAP. So in SAP, so the what HR management used to do is whenever a new employee onboards, okay, so they'll fill all the details in SAP. Okay, MuleSoft, what it used to do, it used to have a document listener. Okay, so the one I shown you earlier. Okay, so it will keep on polling for IDOCs from SAP. Okay, so whenever there is a new IDOC generated, it will automatically pick that and then process it to SFDC. Okay. Okay. So whenever there is a update in tables, HR tables in SAP, it will trigger an IDOC. Okay, and that IDOC will be received by MuleSoft and it will upsert in Salesforce. Okay, so it will do a upsert. Okay, so that Salesforce UI will have the latest information that is available in SAP. Okay, so this is one part. Second part of the use case is So let's say since I'm giving an option for employees via Salesforce UI to log in and check their personal information and update. So whenever they update in Salesforce UI, okay, whenever they update in Salesforce UI, it will populate the table data in Salesforce. Okay, so it will update the objects in Salesforce. Okay, whenever, for example, if I update my contact information like phone number or a present address or anything like that, it will first update in Salesforce. Okay, so from Salesforce, I get a HTTP request to MuleSoft. Okay, because there are two ways I can communicate with Salesforce. Okay, either Salesforce can send a HTTP request to me, or Salesforce can put message onto a channel from where I can subscribe. Okay, so depending on that setting, I can pick the message. Okay, from Salesforce. So once I pick the message, so here in SAP, I cannot use idocs now to update. Okay, so I'll have to use BAPI. Okay, so I'll have to use BAPI or BAPI in the sense remote functional uh, call, I think RFC. Okay, so I'll have to use BAPI. Okay, so what I do, I prepare a XML to update in Salesforce. Okay, and then I call invoke this BAPI using synchronous RFC call. Okay, synchronous remote function call. Okay, so there is an option here. Okay, in Salesforce. Sorry, SAP. So here, synchronous remote function call, correct. Okay, so there are two types of remote function calls, RFC calls. One is synchronous and the other is asynchronous. So if you use asynchronous, irrespective of response from SAP, it will simply push that message and forget about it. Okay, so it will not track either the update is successful or not. Okay, we cannot do those kind of operations because I'll have to report back the status to Salesforce saying if you have updated the contact information, I need to respond back to Salesforce UI. Either I am able to update like update in SAP or not. I need to respond back with that status. Okay, so that's why I need to use synchronous RFC. Okay, I cannot use asynchronous RFC. Okay, so here in the second flow, I need to execute a synchronous RFC. Okay, synchronous RFC. Okay, so here I might get a HTTP request, or I'll have to subscribe to a channel. Okay, so I'll show you how to set up channels in Salesforce. Okay, and how to subscribe for them from MuleSoft. Okay, so I'll show one integration how it can be helpful. Okay. Okay, so this is the use case that I had worked at. So I'll try to recreate the same use case. Okay, so understood, right? Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll continue tomorrow. So meanwhile, I'll try to set up the environment as much as possible. Okay. So, but make sure you have the Salesforce account created, everyone. Okay, and you have the security token reset. Okay. So you should be able to connect. Okay, at least do a test connection. Okay, so today we just saw how to like create a basic configuration and how to upsert an item and how to query from Salesforce. Okay, we only saw these operations also. Okay, but there are few major operations that are usually used. Okay, see, all these operations you won't use. Okay, so it's not applicable anyway. Okay, in any of the use case. So you majorly use upsert, update, query, and subscribe to channel or publish to topic or channel. So these things you use. Okay. So we'll discuss all these operations that you majorly use. Okay.
Do we have class in the weekend?
I'm planning to take because already 1 week was like I couldn't take last week, right? So I was thinking to take, but that's okay if we can continue on Monday also. Hello.
Yeah, anything is fine whenever you're free in the weekends to, if you can inform us, we can join.
Okay. So we'll join. Like let's not like extend. Okay, so we'll join because it will be good if the flow continues.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
So
you, sir.
yeah, so tomorrow I'll check in all the code. Okay, so I'll complete the remaining things and I'll check. Okay, so I'll complete the remaining operations also and then I'll check in so that you can test it.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll connect tomorrow. So I don't know for how long Kishore will take, but it seems like 9:30 is best time. So because